Now, those Islamists do come knocking. Who will Pakistan turn to? Most likely China. They are indebted to Beijing, both politically and financially. But not every country is so desperate. Some are gradually realizing the pitfalls of partnering with China. Tonight, we are focusing on one such country, the Philippines. It's a very important country in the Pacific, close to Taiwan, bound by the South China Sea and fed up with Beijing's bullying. So it's a perfect combination, the Philippines. Recently, the Philippine Senate announced a major decision. It deferred the ratification of RCEP. That is short for the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, called RCEP. Now, the RCEP is basically a mega free trade deal. Broadly speaking, it includes two groups. One is the ASEAN, and two, ASEAN's free trade partners, which includes the likes of India, Japan, China, and Australia. That's around 16 nations in all. Put together, they make up 1/3 of the global GDP. The idea was to build on this, to create an integrated free market between these 16 nations. I know it sounds like a good plan, but as always, there's just one problem. And that problem is called China. Beijing wants to use the RCEP to flood foreign markets to counter US influence in the Pacific. So India walked out of this deal. And something similar is happening in the Philippines. A, they're worried about China spreading its tentacles, and B, their farmers and businesses are protesting. So the Senate has decided to defer the ratification. Now, nobody knows what will happen next. Maybe the protests will be resolved, or maybe the Philippines will leave RCEP. Either way, the larger picture cannot be ignored. The Philippines is moving further away from China. And this could be a big opportunity for India. In fact, India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar was in Manila today. He met with his Filipino counterpart, Teddy Locsin. Here's what the Indian Foreign Minister tweeted after the meeting. "We are entering a new phase of our partnership," he said. "Its basis is the mutuality of national security and development aspirations." Now, this relationship has always had a lot of potential. Historical ties between the people, cultural exchanges, but two things were missing: trade and military cooperation. Bilateral trade was around $2 billion in 2020. Only 6th largest among the ASEAN nations. But recently, things have changed. Both countries are looking to sign a preferential trade agreement. And last month, they signed a major defense deal. We told you about it. The Philippines bought India's BrahMos missiles for $375 million. It was important for two reasons. Number one, this was the first foreign order for BrahMos. And number two, the missiles were bought to deter China. It was a diplomatic and strategic coup for India. You see, ties built on defense are the strongest. Case in point, India and Russia. This relationship, India and Russia, has survived so many changes: the Cold War, the fall of the Soviet Union, the decline of Russian power, and today the crisis in Ukraine. And through all of it, the relationship has remained strong. New Delhi must aim to build something similar with the Philippines. It's a fellow democracy, it's an Indo-Pacific nation, and just like India, they know what it's like to be China's neighbor. Having said that, a lot depends on the alternatives. If Manila leaves RCEP, do they have another option? Take vaccines, for instance. Last year, China donated millions of doses to the Philippines. Remember, this was in the middle of a naval conflict. If the Philippines abandons China, who will fill this gap? The alliance of democracies must step up. Groups like the Quad must create effective alternatives to China. If not, the movement against Beijing will remain wavering. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.